How to end a communication standoff. Hey guys, my name is Danny and I'm your life and relationship coach. And we are talking about that age-old problem in relationships, communication, right? Communication is one of the primary reasons for why clients come to see me, because they are trying to figure out how to navigate conversing with one another, how to actually productively and effectively express their needs and their expectations and to set boundaries and all of those things. Communication is a bit of an art, and it's very difficult for people to navigate, especially if you are in a relationship or you've been in a relationship for a long time and you were never really taught how to communicate specifically in a relationship. So oftentimes what happens is that there are built up frustrations, resentments, angers, and we get into what's called a communication standoff. And we are waiting for our partner to make the first move. We are waiting for them to apologize for their mistakes. We're waiting for them to take accountability for their actions because, it's not me, it's them. I've tried everything. But the reality of the situation is that a relationship is a two-way street, right? There's accountability on both parts. And there's going to need to be a little bit of empathy and compassion and patience that is exercised here in order for you to end a communication standoff. So what is the first thing that you have to do in order to end it, right? The first one is identifying why the communication standoff happened in the first place, right? What was the issue? What were you fighting about? Or maybe it's multiple things that you've been fighting about for months and years, and it finally just came to a place where you decided to not talk to each other anymore because it was the better alternative option than just arguing all the time. But again, that's not healthy. That doesn't help you resolve issues. So identifying what caused the standoff. So that's going to be a lot of self-reflection, self-evaluation. And again, you are watching this video, right? So if you are the person who is watching this video, I'm teaching you, I'm showing you the process and the steps. And I understand how frustrating it can be because sometimes for you, you're saying, well, why doesn't my partner do this? Why can't my partner also evaluate and reflect? And they should be, right? Because it's about teamwork. It's about moving together. It's about wanting to resolve issues together. But sometimes it takes one person taking the lead in order for the other person to fall back in line. So right now, I'm speaking to you. And I want to say to you, obviously, it's about reevaluation. Take a step back. What are the issues in the relationship? What are the fundamental problems in the relationship? Are there common themes and patterns that you constantly get into arguments about, right? And oftentimes what I find is that people have a list of 10, 15, 20, 30 complaints that they have. And if you try to communicate each one of those, it is an exhausting process and you usually end up not getting anywhere and it feels like you're just herding cats. So you can take those 15, 20, 30 list of complaints and you can consolidate them into primary topics, right? So maybe 5 or 6 of those issues actually fall under the category of communication. Maybe another 5 or 6 of those issues fall under the category of intimacy. Maybe the remainder of them fall under the category, whatever the case may be. You can actually consolidate them into 3, 4, 5 primary categories, and then you can start to tackle them bit by bit. But in order to do that, you have to understand and evaluate what is wrong, what went wrong, what are the issues, right? So asking yourself the tough questions. The second part of this is, and I know you're probably going to hate me for this, but making the first move. If you are in a standoff, that means both of you haven't made a first move, right? Somebody has to wave the white flag. That is the only way that you're going to be able to parlay, to have an open dialogue, a conversation, and start to actually get somewhere. Now, if you refuse to do that, that's fine. Completely your choice. But you're probably not going to get anywhere. You're not really going to progress. You're not going to move forward. And that also is a question of ego and pride, right? You need to check your ego and pride. Is that what is speaking right now? Or do you actually truly want to resolve the issues? And it is very possible that when you open up the lines of communication, things will start to work, right? You'll actually be able to start having productive and effective conversations. Or maybe you've tried that before and your partner is not receptive to it, right? I get how frustrating that can be. But at that point, you have a choice. You either choose to try one more time or you give up. And if you give up, the relationship is most likely over. So what is your decision? What is your choice? My recommendation usually is try one more time. I know that's annoying. I know that's frustrating. I know that feels like it puts us in a position of weakness, and we are more submissive than we are, forget all that stuff. There are times in relationships where the push and pull dynamic does not apply, right? And this is going to be one of those circumstances where if you are wanting to end the cycle, we have to approach it from a different perspective, right? We have to hit it head on and say, nope, we're going to end this. The third thing is empathy, right? Exercising empathy. It is going to take your ability to put yourself in your partner's shoes and vice versa, to really try to understand and actively work through the issues. Because if you are unable to see where your partner is coming from, you're literally going to have two people who are talking at each other instead of with each other. And there's a difference. When you are talking at someone, it's because you are desperate to get your point across. It is because you are desperate to be understood, and you feel like that person is not understanding you, and they're not hearing you, and they're not listening to you. So what do? You don't empathize with them, because if they can't understand where you're coming from, why should you understand where they're coming from? And then it just becomes a cycle, and it becomes a merry-go-round. Again, sometimes it takes you being the bigger person and taking the lead to really start to kind of loosen these ropes around the communication, right? So take a step back, take a breath, and try to put yourself in your partner's shoes and understand possibly why they may be upset, why they're emotional, why they have resentments, why they have angers, right? Because again, like I said many, many times before, it's a two-way street. Two people are involved in this relationship, not one. The fourth thing is, once you are able to put yourself in your partner's shoes, it's really about listening, actively listening, right? Oftentimes people think that communication is just about talking, is just about speaking. A big portion of communication is listening, because how are you going to be able to answer your partner if you don't actually listen to what they're saying to you? How are you going to understand your partner if you do not listen to what they're saying to you? And that's a big part of the puzzle. And active listening is something that people struggle with all the time. And active listening really involves you being present in that moment, looking at your partner in the eyes, having your body language show that you're receiving the information, right? Your arms aren't crossed. You're not rolling your eyes. You're not looking at other places. You're not distracted. Verbal and physical cues that you are present in that moment. You're nodding your head. You're acknowledging. You're saying things like, yes, I agree, I understand. And then you're reiterating what they are saying to you every once in a while just for clarity, right? Just to show them that you are paying attention. And if this is something that you struggle with, right? Like if that made you anxious, if you were like, I don't really know how to do that, I highly recommend going over to the product section and purchasing the communication training that I have developed for you guys. It will change your life. It will change your relationship. It'll change the dynamic of your relationship, because what I do is I break down the fundamentals of communication and how to resolve conflict, which, let's face it, is what every single person needs in their relationship. And the reason why I created that product was because everybody asks me how they can communicate better. And if you're watching this video, you're in a communication standoff, which means you're probably not the greatest at communicating, and neither is your partner. So I highly recommend purchasing that product, because it will change your perception. It'll change how you communicate, and you will actually start to feel like you are able to get somewhere with your partner and potentially never have another communication standoff again. The last part of this, again, is really just taking accountability, right? Any mistakes that you have made in the relationship, taking accountability for them. Even if your partner is not willing to do that just yet, right? At least you are, because at the end of the day, if for some reason the relationship does not work out, right? And that's not what we focus on. We always try to rebuild the relationship before it gets to a point where you just have to walk away. But if it does get to that point, at least you can be satisfied in knowing that you tried everything that you could. You did everything you could. You have no regrets walking away from the relationship. And that's going to involve having empathy, forgiveness, taking accountability, all of those things. So again, you can walk away and say, nope, I did all that I could. If you guys like this video, please make sure you hit the like and subscribe button down below. I love having open dialogue with people. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them down below. I try to read as many of them as possible, and I try to answer as many as possible as well. Maybe you just feel like you need a little bit more, right? You just want a little bit more information. You can visit us at happilycommitted.com, where we have a multitude of different articles and blogs and videos related to this subject and many other subjects as well. Maybe you just want a little bit more support, right? You feel like your situation and your circumstance is very specific. You can book a one-on-one coaching session with myself or any of the other amazing coaches that we have on the team directly through the website. Again, my name is Danny. I'm your life and relationship coach. I hope you're staying happy and healthy, and I'll see you soon.